In 2087, the sky above Earth changed forever. It was a regular Tuesday when the deep space monitoring stations picked up unusual readings. At first, the scientists thought their equipment was malfunctioning, but Station Chief Dr. Hana Kim knew better. She had been watching the stars her entire career, and something about these signals felt different. "These aren't random patterns," she told her team as they gathered around the main screen. "These are calculated movements. Something intelligent is coming our way." Within hours, massive ships appeared near Jupiter's orbit. They moved with impossible precision, their dark hulls reflecting no light. News spread quickly across Earth. People gathered in streets, homes, and public spaces, eyes turned skyward, even though the visitors were still too far away to see without telescopes. World leaders called an emergency meeting at the United Nations. The atmosphere was tense as representatives from every nation tried to agree on a response. Some wanted to prepare for war immediately, others suggested peaceful contact. The debate grew heated until Ambassador Tay stood up. "We must speak with one voice," he said, his calm voice cutting through the noise. "We represent humanity now, not just our individual countries." Ambassador Tay had spent his life bringing opposing sides together. Now he faced his greatest challenge, representing all of Earth to an unknown alien power. The UN voted to make him their official spokesperson. 3 days after the ships appeared, they sent a message. It came simultaneously to every communications device on Earth. The aliens called themselves the Galactic Hegemony, rulers of 300 star systems across our galactic arm. Their message was simple. Earth would join their empire as a resource planet. They weren't asking. Behind closed doors, Ambassador Tay drafted Earth's official response. "We welcome peaceful exchange of knowledge and culture," he said in the globally broadcast message. "Earth wishes to join the galactic community as equals, not subjects." What the public didn't know was that Ambassador Tay was playing for time. In a secret facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Hana Kim was leading a very different kind of response. For 15 years, she had been researching quantum temporal mechanics, a field considered theoretical by most scientists. Her team had discovered that time wasn't as fixed as everyone believed. "The hegemony thinks we're primitive," Dr. Kim told the small group of scientists and military personnel gathered in the underground lab. "But we've been developing technology they consider impossible." She pointed to a small device that pulsed with blue light. "This prototype can create localized time distortions. Small ones for now, but we're making progress daily." General Park looked skeptical. "How does this help us against an armada of alien warships?" Dr. Kim smiled. "Because their technology, advanced as it is, follows rules they believe are universal. We've discovered exceptions to those rules." Meanwhile, the hegemony ships moved closer to Earth. They positioned themselves in orbit, enormous shadows passing over cities and oceans. People tried to continue their daily lives, but everything had changed. Schools taught children about the new visitors. Religious leaders offered comfort to their followers. Some people built shelters, while others held end-of-the-world parties. Subin, a teacher in Seoul, tried to explain to her young students why there were giant ships in the sky. "Think of Earth like a new student in a very big school," she said. "We're meeting the older students now." One child raised his hand. "But what if they're bullies?" Subin had no good answer. The hegemony ambassador, a tall being with silvery skin, arrived at the UN to meet with Earth's leaders. He called himself Vorex and spoke through a translation device. His message was clear. Earth would serve the hegemony. Their resources, their labor, their future, all belonged to the empire now. Ambassador Tay maintained his composure. "We need time to consider your terms," he said. "Our people must be prepared for such a significant change." Vorex's expression didn't change, if it could change at all. "You have 1 Earth month to prepare your people. Then we begin integration." What Vorex didn't know was that Ambassador Tay was buying time for Dr. Kim and her team. Every day mattered. Indai. Her lab, Dr. Kim worked tirelessly. Her team made breakthrough after breakthrough, pushing the boundaries of what seemed possible. They discovered that the hegemony's technology relied on quantum principles that human scientists had already begun to challenge. Their entire communication network depends on quantum entanglement, she explained to her increasingly impressed team. But our research shows we can disrupt those patterns. Young physicist Dr. Jun appeared concerned. But we'd need months, maybe years, to fully develop this technology. We don't have years, Dr. Kim replied. We have days, so we work faster. Across Earth, people prepared, some for surrender, others for resistance. Families gathered. Friends made promises to look after each other. Lovers made commitments, unwilling to waste time with uncertainty hanging over them. As the deadline approached, Ambassador Tay continued diplomatic talks, finding every possible reason to extend discussions. The hegemony grew increasingly impatient. Their ships adjusted positions, clearly preparing for something. Dr. Kim's team worked around the clock. The prototype grew more stable. Tests showed promising results. They could create a bubble where time moved differently, just for microseconds, but it was working. We just need more time, she whispered to herself one night, staring at the equations on her screen. Then she smiled at the irony. Time was exactly what they were trying to manipulate. The hegemony didn't suspect that this seemingly primitive planet held such secrets. They believed their technology was superior in every way. They had conquered hundreds of worlds without significant resistance. Earth would be no different. They were wrong. The hegemony's patience ran out exactly 1 month after their ultimatum. Ambassador Tay was in the middle of yet another negotiation session when the first attacks began. The alien delegate simply stood, gave a slight bow that almost seemed mocking, and left without a word. Minutes later, the skies over major cities lit up with streaks of purple light. They're targeting power plants and military bases first, reported a breathless aide, as government officials rushed to underground bunkers. The room shook as explosions rocked the surface above. The attack was coordinated and merciless. Hegemony. Ships positioned themselves strategically around the globe, their weapons capable of piercing any defense Earth had developed. Fighter jets scrambled but were swatted from the sky like insects. Missile launches from submarines and hidden silos did nothing against the alien shields. Juan, a delivery driver in Busan, was bringing food to an apartment when the first beam hit nearby. The shockwave threw him against a wall as buildings crumbled around him. Somehow he survived. For days he helped pull survivors from rubble, his truck becoming an ambulance for the injured. "Stay together," he told the group of survivors he'd gathered. "We're stronger when we help each other." Stories like his repeated across the planet, ordinary people finding courage in the face of an overwhelming enemy, but courage alone couldn't stop the hegemony's weapons. Within the first week, most major cities were in ruins. Billions died in the initial assault, some from direct attacks, others from the collapse of infrastructure. No electricity, no clean water, no functioning hospitals for the wounded. Communication networks failed. Countries that had once argued about borders now found themselves united in desperation. The hegemony landed ground forces next, tall, armored soldiers with weapons that could disintegrate a human with a single shot. They established processing centers in the ruins of cities, rounding up survivors for integration into the empire's workforce. Resistance was met with immediate execution. Deep below the surface, in bunkers designed to survive nuclear war, what remained of Earth's leadership gathered. The situation reports were grim. Military forces worldwide were at less than 20% capacity. The alien technology was simply too advanced. "We need to surrender," said one official, his voice breaking. "Save who we can." That's when Dr. Yun Lee stepped forward. She wasn't supposed to be in this meeting, but security protocols had collapsed along with everything else. "We have another option," she said quietly. All eyes turned to her. Dr. Lee had been Dr. Kim's research partner before the invasion. When the attacks began, they were separated. Dr. Kim at the main facility, Dr. Lee at a secondary lab across the country. "Project Aurora isn't just theoretical anymore," Dr. Lee explained, pulling up files on her tablet. "We've been detecting temporal anomalies for years. At first we thought they were natural phenomena, but we've learned to create them artificially." The room fell silent as she showed them footage of experiments, objects aging decades in seconds, then reverting to normal. Plants growing and dying in minutes, a clock running backward. We can manipulate time itself, she said. Not on a large scale yet, but we're making progress faster than anyone thought possible. One of the military officers scoffed. Pretty science. Experiments won't stop alien soldiers. General Jin Park, who had been quietly listening, finally spoke. Maybe not directly, but it gives us something they don't expect. A chance to fight back on our terms, not theirs. General Park had earned respect through decades of service. Even now, with most of his forces destroyed, he maintained the calm determination that had defined his career. The hegemony thinks they've won, he continued. Let them think that. Meanwhile, we gather what forces we have left, coordinate with Dr. Lee's team, and prepare. Over the next months, that's exactly what happened. On the surface, humanity appeared defeated. People worked in hegemony labor camps during the day, mining resources the aliens demanded. But at night, messages passed secretly from person to person. Underground networks formed. Children carried notes hidden in toys. Elderly people, often ignored by the alien overseers, became crucial message carriers. General Park moved constantly, never staying in one location for more than a day. He connected scattered military units, civilian resistance groups, and scientists who had escaped the initial attacks. Slowly, a global network took shape. In a hidden facility beneath what used to be a shopping mall, Dr. Lee worked with the remains of her research team. Project Aurora had evolved from theoretical to practical. They could now create stable temporal fields large enough to affect small rooms. The next step is weaponization, she told her team one night after a particularly successful test. We need to deliver these effects precisely where they'll do the most damage. Young scientist Dr. Min looked troubled. We never designed this technology as a weapon. Dr. Lee placed a hand on his shoulder. Neither did the people who first split the atom, but here we are. Above them, the hegemony continued their systematic exploitation of Earth. They believed the occasional acts of sabotage were merely the last gasps of a defeated species. Their reports back to their empire spoke of complete victory, of a primitive planet now firmly under control. They never suspected that beneath the surface, both literally and figuratively, humanity was preparing something unprecedented. In hidden bases across the planet, soldiers trained with experimental weapons, engineers repurposed salvaged alien technology, and ordinary people kept hope alive, passing along a simple message. This isn't over. 6 months after the invasion began, Dr. Lee sent a coded message to General Park. Aurora is ready for dawn. The counterattack could finally begin. The day humanity fought back began like any other under occupation. Alien overseers directed human workers at mining sites. Hegemony soldiers patrolled city ruins. Their massive ships hovered overhead, a constant reminder of Earth's defeat. Commander Sung checked his watch, an old-fashioned analog timepiece. Digital devices were too easily tracked by the aliens. He nodded to his communications officer, a former radio technician named Jiho. Send the signal, Commander Sung said quietly. Jiho pressed a sequence on a device that looked like scrap metal, but contained technology more advanced than anything the hegemony had seen from humans. The signal went out, bouncing through a network of hidden transmitters buried across the planet. At exactly 3 Tartarus p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, Operation Timeslip began. On the hegemony command ship, Admiral Krex was reviewing resource extraction reports when his screens flickered and went dark. He tapped his communication implant but heard only silence. Engineering, report, he ordered, but no response came. Across Earth, every hegemony communication device failed simultaneously. Their neural networks, quantum transmitters and subspace relays all went silent in the same instant. Alien soldiers found themselves cut off from commanders. Ships could not contact each other. For the first time since their arrival, the invaders were blind. In a labor camp outside what was once Beijing, Overseer Zilith's translator stopped working mid-sentence. The humans he'd been ordering around seemed confused at first. Then something changed in their expressions. They straightened their backs. Some smiled. From hidden places, they pulled out weapons no alien had seen before. One woman stepped forward, May, who had pretended to be a compliant worker for months, while secretly serving as Task Force Phoenix's regional coordinator. "Your time is up," she said, though the alien couldn't understand her words. The meaning became clear when she activated her weapon, a device that glowed with soft blue light. The alien's armor, impenetrable to conventional weapons, began to age rapidly. Rust spread across its surface like time-lapse footage of decades. Passing in seconds, the material became brittle, then crumbled away. Throughout the camp, other workers revealed similar weapons, targeting the suddenly vulnerable overseers. Similar scenes played out globally. In Paris, resistance fighters emerged from sewers with chronoparticle grenades that aged concrete barricades to dust. In Rio, modified drones delivered temporal charges to hegemony outposts, causing their power cells to decay in minutes rather than centuries. Commander Sung led the assault on the main processing center in Seoul. His team moved with precision, born from months of training. Each carried weapons developed by Dr. Lee's scientists, rifles that fired chronoparticles instead of bullets. "Remember, target their technology, not them directly," Sung reminded his team. "We're better than they are." Inside the command center, the aliens were in chaos. Their technologically superior weapons malfunctioned or crumbled in their hands. Their communication implants produced only static. For a species that relied on constant connection to their network, the silence was terrifying. A young resistance fighter named Hyun approached an alien officer who was desperately trying to restart. A control panel. Hyun's chronoparticle emitter wasn't pointed at the alien, but at the technology around it. "You thought we were primitive," Hyun said. "You never bothered to really understand us." The alien watched in horror as its equipment aged decades in seconds. Components designed to last centuries failed before its eyes. The seemingly unbreakable advantage of hegemony technology was literally turning to dust. Dr. Lee monitored the global operation from her underground lab. Screens showed Task Force Phoenix teams advancing across all continents. The chronoparticle technology was working even better than expected. "The time dilation field is stable," reported her assistant, Dr. Min. "Localized effects are remaining, contained to target areas." Dr. Lee nodded, allowing herself a small smile. "Send word to activate Phase 2. Phase 2 began as the sun set over the Atlantic. Specially modified satellites, launched secretly in the weeks before the invasion under the guise of weather monitoring, activated temporal disruption fields in Earth's orbit. Hegemony ships found their navigation systems failing as time itself became unreliable around them. Some areas of their ships experienced time at normal rates, while others accelerated or slowed, creating catastrophic failures in systems designed to function in synchronized time. On the ground, an elderly man named Kwan, who had been a janitor before the invasion, now led a team securing an alien landing zone. The hegemony soldiers there had expected human resistance to use conventional weapons, guns, explosives, perhaps some rudimentary energy weapons reverse-engineered from alien technology. They were prepared for that. They weren't prepared for weapons that could make their armor age a century in minutes. They weren't ready for grenades that created bubbles where time flowed backward, causing their energy cells to revert to an uncharged state. "They never respected us enough to fear us," Kwan told a younger fighter as they watched alien soldiers retreat in disarray. "That was their mistake." By midnight, humanity had reclaimed major facilities on every continent. The hegemony forces, cut off from their command structure and facing weapons that rendered their technological advantage meaningless, fell into disorganized retreat. In orbit, their mighty warships drifted, systems failing as chronoparticle radiation disrupted the temporal consistency their technology required. Some ship captains attempted to flee, only to find their engines unresponsive or aging to failure before they could escape Earth's gravity. Commander Sung stood on a rooftop, watching distant flashes as hegemony positions fell. A communications officer handed him a radio. "Sir, we're receiving reports from all sectors. Task Force Phoenix operations successful at 94% of targets. Minimal casualties on our side." Sung took a deep breath of night air, the first free breath in months. "Tell Dr. Lee to prepare the next phase," he ordered. "We've shown them we can fight back. Now let's show them we can win." The battle for Earth had truly begun, and for the first time, humanity had the upper hand. 2 weeks after humanity's surprise counterattack, the war had transformed. What began as desperate resistance had become a coordinated global offense. Earth forces captured hegemony outposts daily. Alien technology, once mysterious and unstoppable, was being dismantled, studied, and in some cases, turned against its creators. In what remained of downtown Tokyo, a team led by Lieutenant Sujin cleared a former hegemony command post. The aliens had abandoned it so quickly, they left their equipment behind. "They're running scared now," Sujin said, watching her team secure the building. They never expected us to fight back like this. But victory wasn't certain yet. High above Earth, the remaining hegemony ships had regrouped. Their communications were partially restored, though vulnerable to human disruption. Most concerning was the message they had managed to send into deep space, a distress call to the heart of their empire. At a resistance base hidden in an abandoned subway station, Commander Sung met with Earth's remaining military leaders. The mood was cautiously optimistic until Admiral Han delivered the news. "Our space monitors detected a massive energy burst 3 days ago," she explained, pointing to a star chart. "The hegemony got a message out. Based on their technology, reinforcements could arrive within 2 weeks. The room fell silent. Everyone knew what that meant. The current hegemony force had nearly destroyed Earth. A second wave would finish the job. "Then we have 2 weeks to end this," Commander Sung said firmly. "What's the status of Project Kronos, Admiral?" Han nodded to a communications officer, who established a secure link to the main science facility. Dr. Mina's face appeared on screen, dark circles under her eyes, suggesting she hadn't slept in days. "We've made the breakthrough," she reported. "Day and I completed the final calculations this morning. The Kronos protocol is ready for deployment, but—" She hesitated. "But what, Doctor?" Sung asked. "The device must be placed at the quantum core of the mothership. Their flagship, the temporal cascade, won't work otherwise." Commander Sung rubbed his temples. The mothership was the heart of the hegemony fleet, the largest vessel humans had ever seen, heavily guarded and positioned in high orbit. "How do we get your device on board their most protected ship?" he asked. Dr. Mina looked off screen, then back at the camera. "Dr. Yuna has a plan for that." The next day, leaders from around the world gathered to hear this plan. Dr. Yuna was younger than most expected, barely 30, but spoke with the confidence of someone who understood exactly what needed to be done. "The hegemony uses quantum entanglement for their ship systems," she explained, standing before a holographic display of the alien mothership. "But our chronoparticle technology creates instabilities in their quantum fields. We can use that to our advantage." She pointed to a section of the ship diagram. "Their teleportation system uses the same quantum principles. During our attacks, we captured data showing fluctuations in their transport networks. With the right calculations, we can hijack their system long enough to send a small team directly into the mothership." A veteran general spoke up. "And once inside, the ship will be crawling with soldiers." Dr. Yuna nodded to Dr. Mina, who activated another display showing a small, glowing device. "This is the Kronos core," Dr. Mina explained. "Once placed near their quantum center and activated, it will create a temporal disruption that spreads through their entanglement network. Every ship connected to the mothership will be affected simultaneously." "Affected how?" someone asked. Dr. Day, who had been quietly standing by, stepped forward. He was older than the others, with hands that shook slightly from age. "The disruption will rewrite causality within their systems," he said softly. "In simple terms, it will make their technology forget how to function. Ships will lose cohesion. As different sections experience different time frames, the effect will cascade through their entire fleet." The room buzzed with murmurs. It sounded impossible. Yet after everything humanity had accomplished in recent weeks, who could say what was impossible anymore? Commander Sung stood. "Who will lead this mission?" "I will," Dr. Yuna said without hesitation. "The device requires specific calibration during placement. I'm the only one who can do it correctly." Preparations began immediately. A team of 12 was assembled, 4 soldiers with combat experience, 4 engineers familiar with alien technology, and 4 scientists, including Dr. Yuna. They trained in a simulated environment built from scans of captured hegemony vessels. Meanwhile, Earth forces increased attacks on hegemony positions, keeping the aliens distracted. The goal wasn't just to win battles, but to force the mothership to maintain its quantum connections with all vessels, keeping the network active and vulnerable. 7 days before the reinforcements were due to arrive, the mission launched. The team gathered in a hidden facility beneath the Himalayan mountains, chosen for its natural protection from hegemony scans. Jiwoo, a former mountain climber now serving as a combat specialist, checked her weapons one last time. "Think this will really work?" she asked the engineer beside her. He smiled nervously. "It has to." Dr. Yuna carried the Kronos device herself, unwilling to trust it to anyone else. The small cylinder glowed with soft blue light, humming quietly with power that could rewrite the laws of physics. "Quantum fluctuation detected," announced the technician monitoring the hegemony's teleportation network. "Transport window opening in 30 seconds. Dr. Yuna looked at each team member. "Remember, we'll have exactly 17 minutes before their systems detect the intrusion. Plant the secondary devices at your assigned positions, then meet at the quantum core." The teleportation pad hummed to life, filling with swirling energy as Earth scientists hijacked the alien system. The team stepped forward together. "For Earth," Dr. Yuna said quietly. In a flash of light they vanished, reappearing moments later in a dimly lit corridor aboard the hegemony mothership. The mission to save Earth had begun, with the fate of humanity resting on a device smaller than a water bottle, and the courage of 12 people against an empire of stars. The mothership's quantum core pulsed with alien energy. Dr. Yuna and what remained of her team worked frantically as alarm signals blared around them. Of the 12 who had teleported aboard, only 7 survived the journey to the ship's center. Engineer June had fallen, protecting their escape route. Soldiers Hyun and Tae were lost during a firefight in the lower decks, and scientist Dr. Kim had sacrificed herself to hold off alien guards while the others escaped. Dr. Yuna's hands moved with practiced precision as she placed the Kronos device against the pulsing crystal at the heart of the ship. The quantum core towered 20 meters high, a swirling vortex of energy that connected all hegemony vessels through space and time. "How much longer?" asked Suk, the team's remaining combat specialist. She fired her weapon down the corridor, keeping advancing hegemony soldiers at bay. 2 more minutes, Dr. Yuna replied, not looking up from her work. "The calibration has to be perfect, or the cascade effect won't propagate properly." Behind them, Engineer Jay worked to keep the room sealed. "We've got company coming through the maintenance shafts," he warned. "Maybe 3 minutes before they break through." Dr. Yuna nodded but didn't rush. One mistake now would doom everything. The Kronos device hummed louder as she aligned it with the quantum frequencies of the alien core. The small cylinder now glowed brightly, its light pulsing in counterpoint to the alien energies. "There," she said, finally stepping back. "It's ready." She pressed a sequence on the device and a protective shield formed around the team. The temporal bubble would protect them from what was about to happen. "Kronos protocol activated," Dr. Yuna announced. 30 seconds to temporal cascade." The team gathered close. No one spoke. After months of planning, fighting, and sacrifice, it all came down to this moment. The device's glow intensified, then shot tendrils of blue-white energy into the quantum core. The alien crystal shuddered, its normal purple glow turning turquoise as the 2 technologies fought for dominance. Then came a sound like reality itself cracking. "It's working!" Engineer Jay shouted over the growing roar. Through viewports they watched as the effect spread. Hegemony ships surrounding Earth began to shimmer and distort. The temporal cascade was traveling through the quantum network, affecting all connected vessels simultaneously. But something unexpected happened next. The effect grew stronger, expanding beyond what the scientists had predicted. The quantum core didn't just malfunction, it began to fold in on itself, taking surrounding space-time with it. "This is beyond our calculations," Dr. Yuna whispered, staring at readings on her portable device. "The cascade isn't just affecting their ships, it's affecting their entire timeline." A blinding flash enveloped them, and for a moment that seemed to stretch forever, The team experienced time in all directions at once. Past, present, and future existed simultaneously within their protective bubble. They saw the hegemony's history, their rise to power, their conquest of hundreds of worlds, their eventual discovery of Earth, all playing out like a film running backward and forward at the same time. Then, impossibly, they watched that history unravel. The thread of the hegemony's existence pulled loose from the fabric of the universe, leaving nothing behind. When vision returned, they found themselves floating in empty space where the mothership had been. Earth hung below them, beautiful and blue. But the hegemony fleet was gone, not destroyed, gone as if it had never existed. Their protective bubble began to descend toward Earth, guided by protocols Dr. Mina had programmed. As they fell, they saw no signs of the invasion. Cities glowed with lights that had been darkened during the occupation. There were no ruins, no destruction. "What happened?" Suk asked, her voice barely a whisper. "We didn't just defeat them," Dr. Yuna replied, equally stunned. "We erased them from history itself." 2 days later, in an emergency session of world leaders, Director Q tried to explain what had happened. A respected scientist before the invasion, he had been coordinating global research efforts during the occupation. The Chronos Protocol created a temporal paradox that rippled backward through time, he explained. According to our best understanding, the hegemony now never evolved as a spacefaring species. Their empire never formed. The invasion never happened. "But we remember it," said one leader. "How is that possible?" Director Q gestured to Dr. Yuna, who stood to address the assembly. "Earth exists in what we're calling a temporal bubble," she explained. "Our planet and everyone on it retains memories of the original timeline because we were at the center of the event. To the rest of the universe, the hegemony simply never existed." Silence fell as people absorbed this information. Billions had died in an invasion that now technically never occurred. Those same billions were alive again, with no memory of their deaths or the occupation. "What about the technology?" another leader asked. "If we can erase entire species from history?" Director Q nodded gravely. "Which is why I've proposed the formation of the Temporal Guardian Council, an international body to protect this knowledge and ensure it's never misused." In the months that followed, humanity struggled to adapt to their unique situation. Most people went about their lives unaware anything had changed. Only those who had been directly involved in the resistance or government leadership remembered the invasion and Earth's desperate fight for survival. Scientist Dr. Day, now serving on the newly formed Guardian Council, studied data from deep space telescopes. "The universe has been reshaped," he told his colleagues. "Worlds that were under hegemony control developed differently without their influence. Space that was claimed by their empire is open, unexplored." Director Q looked at the star charts with wonder and concern. "We've been given a second chance," he said. "But with that comes great responsibility. 1 year after the event, humanity launched its first true interstellar vessel. The ship Remembrance carried scientists, explorers, and diplomats on a mission of peaceful contact with nearby star systems. Captain Sun, standing on the bridge as Earth receded behind them, addressed her crew. "We go forward with the knowledge of what might have been," she said, "and the determination to build something better in its place." The ship accelerated toward distant stars in a galaxy that humanity had unknowingly reshaped, a universe where the hegemony had been erased from. History and Earth's future remained unwritten.